Welcome to episode 7 of the radio podcast, and today we talk to Giovanna Barros, who is a curler. Do you know Giovanna, Shagan?
No, I don't think so.
No, she's an excellent curler. She played for Team Brazil at the Youth Olympics.
That's cool. That's
Very
wonderful.
official. She's an Olympic athlete.
Wait, does she go to Bellevue?
Yes.
Oh, I did not know that.
Okay, you got to meet her someday.
Yeah.
So Shagan's here.
Aloha.
This is not Hawaii. Aloha.
What's up?
It feels like that, doesn't it? The sun
Yeah.
is out. It's really hot. I think it's like 26 degrees on Monday.
We're going to have freezy sales.
We're going to have
that.
freezy sales, yes.
Make sure to buy them.
So what's up, Shagan, next week?
Well, we
or
have
coming weeks?
Well, we have a Spirit Week next week, so we start off with PJ Day because, have that laziness in everyone, and then, we'll be showing Mr. Bean at lunch. The episode is...
Mr. Bean. I love Mr. Bean.
Yeah. The episode's going to be a surprise. And then on the 3rd, Tuesday, we have Twin Day, and we're going to have a 3-legged rope brace.
A 3-legged rope race.
Yeah, but...
A 3-legged race.
Yeah, but they're going to be 2 legs because it's twins. I don't know.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah. And then your favorite on Wednesday is Star Wars Day.
Dun, 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 dun. Star Wars Day. I'm going to have my shirt.
Oh,
I'm going to bring my lightsaber. I'm going to do it all.
Oh my god.
And you should too.
I don't have Star Wars fur.
What?
I don't.
Did you watch the movies?
No.
You didn't? Did you watch The Force Awakens?
Nope.
What?
I don't know.
Okay. We're going to have to go over a few things after this podcast.
Yeah. Well, for Star Wars Day, we have the Star Wars tag and then the trivia, which you will be taking part in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Of course.
We don't know who you're going to be versing yet, though.
I don't know.
Maybe
we'll see.
Mr. Waldman.
Maybe.
And then we have Throwback Thursday on Thursday. So, we're going to be having all the throwback songs from all the 70s and 80s with karaoke, and everyone's going to be singing.
I love karaoke.
Oh, yeah.
Will I get to sing?
Of course.
Want to do a duet?
I don't sing. I did. Nope.
You do sing.
I don't.
I've heard you sing at the Famine.
That was just something random Sahil.
Well, there's another Famine coming up, so.
Maybe. And then on Friday we have Pattern Day, and we're gonna be dressing up someone as Waldo, from the Where's Waldo, and then he's gonna just be going around everywhere posting pictures, and then just people are gonna try to find him and get a picture with him to get a cupcake.
Oh, so you have to take a selfie with Waldo.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And post it up.
And then you get a cupcake.
You prove it, and you get a cupcake.
Yeah.
Cool.
And we also have a cupcake sale for that too, because why not have cupcakes?
Why not?
Yeah. And then on the 13th, Friday the 13th, we have the 30-hour famine.
Wow.
Friday the 13th.
I just realized that.
I know. I was like, oh,
That's
okay.
going to be a very special 30-hour famine.
Oh, yeah. And then, all the student council meetings. Oh, and tomorrow, I think it's the 29th, we have report cards. Sadly.
Sadly?
Well,
Happy for many.
Well, for the teachers.
For the teachers. We have to make them.
Yeah. And then, we haven't planned it out yet, but student council is going to be having their slip and slide, their annual slip and slide.
Oh, yeah, good timing. It's getting hot.
Oh, yeah. And then we're thinking that maybe we could, add, a pool with it, or, some type of, water activity.
Something different this time.
Yeah. just to make it fun.
Yeah, it was one of the most popular things last year, so that'd be great.
And then we have 5 Days of Freedom by Midui. You'll be hearing about that. I'm not really sure what they're going to be doing yet.
It'll be on the week of the famine, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So 2 weeks from now.
Great.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, there's lots of things happening here at Bellevue, and Adrian, whom we interviewed for a podcast, his movie is coming out.
My best friend's birthday?
Yeah. Later this May. So we'll hear more from him. I'll try to get him on the show again just to talk about that. And hopefully he's got a trailer by then. Also, L.A. Hernandez, he's got some gigs coming up. He's serious now.
Dang.
He's performing out there.
Wow.
Yeah. So he's playing his EDM music, DJing. So maybe we could have him in the foyer one of these days.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of neat.
Maybe have some presenting stuff.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else to say, Shagun?
Just join us in and participate in all the events.
Yes. Have a great week, guys.
Yeah.
Give me 5.
Bye.
Special shirt.
Yeah. I ran out of shirts this morning, so I had to put it on.
Well, it's just a coincidence? You're wearing a Brazil shirt?
Yeah, I haven't done my laundry as well, so.
Yeah. Oh, you do your own laundry?
Yeah. My mom got tired of doing mine.
Awesome. Okay. How are you, Deborah?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you
That's
doing,
very
John?
good. We're getting close to the end.
We are.
Yeah.
It's only like 8 weeks or something like that.
Yes. And it's getting warmer. Next week it's like on Monday it's like 26 degrees.
Yeah.
That's why we're selling freezies.
Yeah, it's very smart.
It's it's a business move.
Yeah. As the business teacher, I think that's an excellent move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not a business teacher, and I figured
You've
it out.
got the skill, though.
Would you buy a freezie?
I have freezies at home.
Oh, you have your own freezies?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're not as likely to buy one then?
Maybe not.
If I'm in the mood, I guess
What if
I'll
it
buy
was
one.
26 degrees, sweltering heat, and you see people walking around with a freezie and it's like dripping everywhere and it's, freezie.
Yep.
See?
I would buy one.
That's what it is. We're going to have people just hired to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. How's it going, Giovanna?
I'm good.
Is that how you say your name?
Yeah. I mean, in Portuguese it's kind of different, but like...
How do you say it in
I
Portuguese?
understand it. It's Giovanna.
Giovanna.
Kind of, yeah.
Cool. And you went to... You're a curler.
Yeah.
How'd you get into curling?
My mom was a curler, and then initially they needed a Brazilian team to go to the Youth Olympics. And I wasn't really into it that much, so she kind of like tricked me into it. She was like, hey, do you want to go to Norway? And I'm like, yeah, of course. She's like, okay, but you got to do curling. So then it was either that or not go to Norway. So then I took it up, and I found out that I really enjoyed it afterwards.
Wait, so you were told you were going to go to Norway, and that's when you started curling? I thought you'd been like doing it for your whole life.
No.
Oh, okay.
Because they needed a team
Uh-huh.
put together because they wanted to represent Brazil.
Yeah.
They didn't really want us to win because it would have been impossible. So like 5-6 months before, one of my mom's friends like represents like the whole Brazilian curling
Uh-huh.
committee. I don't know what it's called, but she went to like the World Curling Conference. I don't know, and then they were like, okay, you can have a Brazilian team go to the Youth Olympics, but you gotta form one in like the next couple weeks. And she knew my mom, and my mom curled, so she got me into it, and like another girl, and then 2 boys in Quebec. And that's how we did it.
What level? Because your mom had probably done it for a long time, right?
Yeah.
So what level was your mom at? Had she ever been to Olympics?
No, she didn't, but she's been to like a lot of major bonspiels, and a couple weeks ago she went to a bonspiel with like 40 teams, and she got first place.
And a
with her team.
bonspiel is like a curling match.
A curling
right?
competition, yeah.
Okay. So you're probably going to use some terms that I don't understand. So, okay, so what is the timeline here? You found out that you were going to go to Norway, or you wanted to go to Norway, so you started training from scratch.
I started training. We got like a professional coach and everything. Like the first 2 weeks we had to go to this kind of like this group with like a bunch of like kids like varying like 5 to 17. So it was like kind of weird, but then the Brazilian government gave us an actual Canadian coach that has been playing curling for like, I don't know, about 20 years. And then he taught us from scratch, and we were okay, I guess. I think we were good.
So how long before the Olympics did you start?
About like 5-6 months.
6 months?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. And then you ended up going to Norway.
Yeah.
So what was that like? And you must have been excited leading up to that.
Yeah, I was excited and really nervous as well. Because I knew we were going to lose. Because all the other teams were like the best. They've competed with other teams to get to that spot. But we hadn't. So there's not really any competition.
Well, I guess Brazil doesn't have traditionally a curling team, right?
No, they don't. Because there's no ice there at all.
Well, number one, there's no ice.
Yeah. But I talked with the leader of the World Curling Federation, the president or whatever, and she said that they were planning on building a curling rink in Sao Paulo because of us.
Because of you?
Yeah.
Wow. So you're like a pioneer for Brazilian curling.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So tell us all about like the journey to Brazil, or the journey to Lillehammer, Norway, and what kind of things you experienced along the way and how that was.
When we were first in Canada, because 2 of our team members, the 2 boys, were in Quebec, so we never really practiced. So they came from Quebec to like here, and for like a weekend, about like 4 days. And then, so I got to skip school, which was fine. And then we practiced together for like 4 days, which was like 36 hours. And we practiced then, and then they went back, and we met up again with them in Norway. So we didn't get practice time in Norway. You get 5-minute practice before each game, like a 15-minute short one on the first day.
So just before the game, you get 5 minutes?
Yeah, but like on the first couple of days, because we haven't really been practicing that much, they gave us 15 minutes on each rink. So it was kind of like 45 minutes like on like one day, and then like 2 days later we went and played. So we like kind of knew how it was playing with each other, but like it was kind of like...
So that's really difficult. You've got 2 Canadians.
Oh no, they're Brazilian.
Brazilian.
They're Brazilian that live in Quebec.
Oh, they live in Quebec?
Yeah.
To train?
No, they live in Quebec.
Oh, they just live there?
Yeah.
Okay. But their nationality is Brazilian?
Yeah, we were all born in Brazil.
And so they joined the team for the same reasons?
Yeah.
To go to Norway.
Yeah, one of them like went a couple of times on the ice already, but he never really got into it. But then like his father was like, "Hey, you want to get in?" He was like, "Yeah."
So his father said, "Hey, do you want to go to Norway?"
Yeah.
So were you practicing every weekend then?
Yeah.
Those 6 months before, or every day, or?
Every weekend we practiced on Saturday and Sunday, and if we could, we would go at Tuesday night. And then we'd try to go any day that we could because we needed a lot of practice.
And that's tough, too, when you got people that don't know each other really well, and because it's a team sport. Yeah. So you're going to have to work together on the ice. So how are the competitions?
The competitions were stressful but fun. The competitions that we had in Norway, there was a whole audience behind us. There was cameras everywhere. There was like an audience on top as well. So you had eyes on you all the time, so you kind of felt it. And you didn't want to screw up, but like at times when you did, you like wish they didn't. Like they didn't see it. So it was kind of stressful, but at the same time, like sometimes you would forget they were there and you just continued playing. It was really fun.
And you fell once, you said?
I did. I fell. And I injured my back, so I couldn't play for like 2 games.
Oh no.
Yeah, and then I fell, I threw up, and then I couldn't play for like half of the game, and then I came back, And then, like, the doctor afterwards, because my back started, like, hurting so much, he's like, you're not playing the 2 games tomorrow. And I'm like, no, please. And he's like, no. So I took 2 games off, but I came back for, like, the remaining, like, 4.
So when you're not playing, does somebody substitute for you?
It
No?
was 3 people against, like, 4.
Okay.
But yeah.
And they also had games where you were paired up with like an American, right?
Yeah, there was mixed doubles where the Olympics it was like they introduced it because it wasn't there first, so they're like, okay, well, because you're not doing anything for like the next week that you're there, because all our competitions were on 1 week and there was 2 weeks, so they gave us the mixed competitions and they put us into pairs, and I got paired up with one of the American boys. He was the second on his team. So he was the second to throw the rock, and they won silver, so I couldn't really compare.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Did you learn a lot?
I learned very much.
So it's the Olympics, right? It's the Youth
Yeah.
Olympics. It's organized by the IOC. And so they have the whole shebang. They've got the opening ceremonies.
Oh, I missed the opening
You
ceremony.
missed the opening ceremonies?
Yeah, because of my back.
Oh, no. You didn't miss the closing
No,
ceremonies?
I was there for the closing ceremony.
And was that, like, where did they have that? Was it a big,
It was
huge thing?
in this huge tent that was outside of Harkins Hall. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but it was where, like, we would get our food and stuff like that. But it was outside, so it was of walking distance where we were sleeping. And it was, like, the biggest tent in Norway, I think it was. And they had this huge stage, and there was, like, half of, like, the floor space was for all the Olympians, which was, like, over 1,000 of us, and then the rest was just for, like, people that paid to get in.
So that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Did they have entertainment and
Yeah, they
music
had
and dancing?
a couple singers that I don't know. They're big in Europe, but they were good.
Yeah. And what was Norway like? Did you get to explore much? Or were you...
We got to see one of the cities that was outside of the Olympic village that we were staying in.
So the Olympic Village, they actually had to build that for you guys, right?
Yeah.
And besides that, they don't actually, like, they don't build stadiums or arenas. Those were already there.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah, because they had to travel for the hockey as well, because sometimes the hockey rink, they had a hockey rink there, but sometimes it would be taken up, so they had to travel to another one.
So overall, it was a really positive experience?
Yeah.
Was it the Norway you thought it was going to be?
Yeah, it was colder than I thought as well. It was always below, like, -5. At one time
Okay.
it was, like, -15 for, like, a couple days. So we had to bundle up a lot.
So were you prepared for that? Or was that unexpected?
They didn't let us bring any of our clothes because we were sponsored by Nike.
Oh, okay.
So they provided us with all the clothing, and we couldn't wear anything else other than Nike. So they kind of prepared us for it, because they gave us snow pants and they gave us these big jackets and stuff like that.
So everything was provided by your sponsor?
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty cool. I wish I had a sponsor. I wish I had a sponsor for this podcast.
Yeah.
So you played for Brazil. Were you born in Brazil?
Yeah.
And when did you come to Canada?
I came when I was about 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you were 3, you probably don't remember much?
No, not that much, but we went back to Brazil in 2012, so I got to see my family in like around Brazil as well.
How much family is back there still?
All of my mom's side except her sisters. Her sisters live in Canada.
So what is Brazil like? Because we're heading towards the Olympics now, and you start. Like, I don't know that much. I haven't been to... Have you been to Brazil,
I've
Deborah?
never been to Brazil.
So what I know just comes from movies. I saw a movie called, what was it, City of God? It was all about the
I've heard of it,
favelas. So it's kind of
Yeah.
like the dirty side of Brazil. Just a couple of movies I've seen. The music, the samba and the bossa nova. Yes,
Yeah.
that's all I know. Oh, and the movie Rio. Everything I know about Brazil is from that movie Rio. So tell us about Brazil.
It's hot, and if you go to São Paulo as well, it's huge, and if you take the wrong turn, you could end up in like the favela side of the town. And then you take another turn and you're in like huge buildings like the rich side of the town. But where I'm from was Brasilia, which is the capital, and it's kind of polluted there.
Uh-huh.
Very polluted. I got bronchitis like 2 times when I was
But
there.
the air is polluted.
Yeah, the air is polluted, and it gets really hot and muggy outside, but on the other hand, it's like really beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no beaches in Brasilia,
Mm-hmm.
so like now they've constructed like a man-made beach
Mm-hmm.
from scratch. They brought sand from all the other beaches.
Now, Brasilia is a city that they actually, they designed it from scratch with the intention of having lots of people move there. I kind of heard about it on some documentary I watched, but there were less people moving into there than they thought.
Yeah, it's kind of like middle class.
Right.
There's not many rich people there.
So are there, because in the documentary they mentioned there are a lot of buildings that they built expecting people to go there, and they're just sitting empty.
Yeah. A lot of the, you'd walk around the streets and there'd be this one building, and all the other buildings have their windows open and you see people moving around and it's just there and nothing's happening. You're like, oh.
So there's these buildings with nobody in it.
Yeah, it's not that many, it's
Mhm.
1 or 2,
Okay.
yeah.
So I guess you don't remember living there, but when you went there, what was the impression you got? You went there in 2012
Mm-hmm.
after living here.
Yeah.
What was it like?
It was a big change because here it's kind of like we all have a curfew, get in at around 10, but in Brazil, people are partying all the time.
Oh yeah.
You could go out at 10 or 11 o'clock and get an ice cream cone from an ice cream shop, and there would be I don't know how to explain it, these big places where all they did was barbecue, called a churrascaria.
Uh-huh.
We don't have it here, I don't think, but they would have these huge barbecues, and people would come around and they'd be like, okay, do you want this meat? You'd be like, okay, and there's a certain way you have to place your fork to tell them that you want more or you don't want more. So if you place your fork and knife sitting across from each other on the plate, that means you want more. But if they're both on the same side, it's stop.
So if you don't know that,
If you don't know
put your
that,
fork-
they're just gonna keep giving it to you, and you're gonna be like, no, and they're gonna be like, no, it's okay.
That's cool, because I like meat. That's kind of interesting. So the food there must be a lot different than here as well.
Yeah, it is. We don't have that much they have some fried food, but a lot of it is they eat most of rice and beans. That's their signature is this bean stew that they put on rice. It's called feijoada. It's beans and beef or whatever in this broth, and you put it on rice. And then there's one of their world famous things that they have there that they have on every street is pastels.
Mm-hmm.
It's this pastry filled with cheese or ground beef and tomatoes, and it's huge.
Oh wow.
And they fry it and you eat it. There's a place here that you could get them. It's called the Boteco. I don't know what street.
Where's that?
It's somewhere downtown. Boteco,
Downtown?
Yeah, Boteco, Brazil. But their pastels are small.
Tiny.
Yes,
Aw.
because it's
What a
hard to
letdown.
get it. Yeah, and then when you usually have the pastels, you'd have like cane sugar juice, like you know the sugar cane. Like they'd make juice out of that, and you drink it with it.
Yeah, and other types of drinks.
Mm-hmm. And they have coxinhas as well, which is like this like thick breaded thing with like chicken inside, and just a bunch of other stuff go on about. Yeah, you could like get it. Like I said, at the Bocce, which is like run by one of my mom's friends.
The cool thing about those kinds of places is that they're street food. You know, we have like food trucks here, but they're super expensive. Like you have grilled cheese for like $12 for a piece of cheese melted between two pieces of bread, right? So it's nice when you go to places like that and you get that kind of street food. And it's actually good.
Yeah, it was quite cheap. They had a lot. Like sometimes people would have like bowls of just rice and beans because they'd be selling it, and then there's churros as well and stuff like that. And like most of it cost. The highest price that I saw was for this big thing, which was like 10 reais, which is like $5 Canadian, which wasn't that expensive. Yeah.
Really cool. So, I mean, that's one of the things that I heard one of my friends from, I guess this is a South American thing, but she came from Chile, and she said the first thing she noticed was that everything closes early here.
Yeah.
And she said she's like spent 2 months just being depressed because she couldn't go out, and because she was used to going out and partying all night, meeting friends and going to eat, and there's just nothing here, right?
Here everything closes early, and then you're kind of like, oh, like I feel like eating out at this place, but it's closed. So it was a huge change from like Brazil, because I was there for 4 months, and then I came back and I'm like, oh, can we go to like get an ice cream to like my mom? And she's like, okay, but it's like 10 o'clock, they're not open. I'm like, oh.
And it's like Dairy Queen or something like that.
Yeah.
So, getting close to the Olympics in Rio, you've probably been to Rio? No?
Because none of my family's there, so we never actually went. Yeah.
Okay. Because I would expect, when you go to Brazil, that'd be the first place
we
to
were
go.
supposed to go, but then we decided to go to my grandpa's farm instead. So.
Do you know anything? Like, I've heard things from media, and who knows, but there's obviously problems with the government there. There's some issues with how ready the buildings are.
They're not ready.
They're not?
No. Because we had someone stay with us that was from Rio, and he said that because they started kind of last minute, just kind of like Brazilian thing to do.
Oh, really?
Yeah, not to get like stereotypical, but we often do things a lot of the times last minute, which is especially like the government, so they kind of like started everything last minute, so they're kind of still in construction, which was like with the FIFA as well.
Right.
The FIFA stadium, they started last minute and not many things were done.
Yeah.
So
that was like for the World Cup, they had some stadiums that were
they weren't finished, so they
finished.
had to scrap those.
And I heard they even built a stadium like in the middle of the rainforest.
Oh.
Like in the middle of nowhere.
Which is
weird.
People would go, but it would be very expensive.
Yeah, but what do you
point.
do with a place like that after it's over? And like the water is polluted.
Yeah, there's a lot of, because a lot of the people, it's kind of a poor country because the government doesn't do that well, so they
also the government being corrupt is a huge issue.
They were having a lot of riots recently, but like they would have like people living out on the streets, and they'd have these rivers, but they were dirty, and so they couldn't drink out of it, and then like a lot of the water was polluted, so if you do go into like the ocean and stuff, like you had to be careful where you went to the beach, so if you go to the wrong beach, it's dirty and it's gross.
And they're gonna have like rowing competitions and all that kind of stuff on those waters that are polluted. That's kind of gross. So, as a curler now, as an Olympic curler, Maybe you could explain to me what curling is all about, and do you play any other sports?
Nope.
So that's your
Yeah.
sport now.
I didn't play any sports until I started curling.
Okay.
Wow.
So what's exciting about curling? What do you love about curling?
I really like the strategy part about it.
Mm-hmm.
Not so much the sweeping, the strategy. Because you have to think a lot of the times, and sometimes you have to be kind of open-minded because a lot of things can change really quickly, and you have to think about like 3 or 4 different possibilities of what's going to happen in the future, and you got to think about what happened in the past,
Mm-hmm.
what's happening in the present, and that's mainly on the skip. The third has to deal with that too, because I was the third.
And what's the third?
The third player to throw the rock.
Okay.
It's also the vice, like the vice skip. So, when the skip is going to throw the rock, he would consult with the third, and then the third would like hold the broom on the other side for the skip.
And the objective is just to get as many stones.
Closest to the button.
Right.
Because the buttons, the little middle
The red
of
thing.
the rings, which
Uh-huh.
is called the house.
Uh-huh.
And what happens is, okay, it's hard to explain, but if you have 2 rocks that are really close to the center and 2 that are like on the outermost ring, and the other person's rock is like in between them, the 2 of the rocks that were on the out that was like farther than them, they're out. So
Mhm.
you only have those 2.
Okay.
So if like the other team has like 5 rocks in the middle and you're not doing so well, all you have to do is kind of like get it closest to the button as you can, so that most of their points are taken out.
Mm-hmm. So
Like
that's
that.
the strategy you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Kinda.
for a curler to be a good curler, a lot of it has to do with like that kind of thinking
Yeah.
and trying to figure out where to put your stones so that you can get the most
Yeah.
points, right?
I mean, the first and the second, and sometimes the third, they don't really have to deal with that. They have to know how to throw the rock, they have to do it, but like the skip makes all the final decisions.
Mhm.
The skip would normally think about all the shots. He would, like, this is all in like a couple seconds, like half a minute sometimes, because you gotta go fast. And he would think about all the shots and think about what is best, and then he'd choose for the person. The person has to be like capable of throwing that rock.
Mhm.
So most of it does land on the skip.
So all that strategy, I mean, a lot of it comes from your experience.
Yeah.
Do you follow curling? Like, do you watch a lot of it online or on TV just to watch some good curlers?
If it's on, sometimes I'll watch it, but then sometimes I'll forget something. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go watch this show so I can like refresh my memory,
Mhm.
because it's a winter sport, and in the summer there's not really much you can do. So I'd go back to like the past games and I watch them, because it's good to like watch them and see what they're doing to pick up new like strategies and stuff like that.
So in the summer you play Bocce Ball, right? Similar.
Kind of, yeah.
Kind of. So besides the strategy, what other like technique or what other skills do you need to have?
You have to be quick on your feet. You have to, for sweeping, there is a couple different types of sweeping, and one of them, if you're in like those big competitions like the Olympics, there's an illegal type of sweeping, where if you do it, you can get kicked out and you
Whoa.
can't go back.
What's the illegal type of sweep?
Yeah. So like when the rock is coming, you sweep from like on it, because you're beside the rock and you're sweeping in front of it. But then sometimes people would go behind the rock and sweep like up and down in front of it.
Okay.
And that was illegal. And so if anyone ever did that, like you get a warning first,
Uh-huh.
and the officials were like, hey, don't do that, because like we're kids.
Yeah.
And then, but if you do it again, you're kicked out because you can't be doing
Is
that.
this something you might do by accident, or
Yeah,
would you have to?
If you touch the rock with your broom, it's out.
Oh, okay.
And if you touch the rock, it's out. Like, if it touches anything, it's out.
So you can't just push the rock along with your broom. I guess that would be cheating.
Yeah, because they can't really see what you're doing as well, because you could be, like, kind of pushing it if you
I
see it.
I see.
Mm-hmm.
There's doesn't seem to be a lot of cheating in curling, is there?
You could. I don't know how you would, though. You could do something to the hack.
What's the hack?
The hack is where you kick out from, like, you know, like the big black things where people put their feet in on
Right.
ice. You could do something to that, but it's not really much you can do because you got to use it as well.
But in general, people are pretty honest curlers.
Yeah.
I see. So, now that you are an Olympic curler, is that something you want to continue
Yeah.
here in Canada?
I am trying to get, like, me and the girl that both went there, we're trying to get 2 other Brazilian youth that have, like, Brazilian passports Brazilian girls, to form a team so we could go to the world competitions, which is, like, not right now, but, like, in a couple years.
Do you know where that's going to be? Do they know yet?
Not yet, but I think that the world competition this year was in Sweden or Switzerland, somewhere.
Cool. Well, that's a good way to go around the world.
Yeah.
Be an athlete.
Yeah, and it was all paid for.
Uh-huh.
It's usually all paid for, so.
So what is your pre-game meal for a curler?
They provided us with, like, food. We had, like, this whole cafeteria. So we would have games in the morning, usually at around 9 o'clock, and then we'd have games in the afternoon. But, like, we all kind of ate, like, different things, but, like, there was a theme where it was, like, filling. So I would have, like, porridge most of the time with, like, it sounds, yeah, like porridge, and then I put, like, fruits and, like, nuts in there, because it's 2-hour games with, like, a 5-minute break in between the 4th end and the 5th end, and that's all you get, and you can't really, like, eat anything, so you gotta be really filled up for it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then, like, one of the boys on my team, he sometimes would eat, like, 2 or 3 pieces of pizza, which wasn't that healthy, but yeah. And then, like, for lunch, we'd have a filling lunch, and then we'd go on.
So somebody controls, like, when you have your meals, and is it like that?
It was kind of like a mess hall where you, like, go in at certain times, and they would have, like, breakfast or lunch or dinner, and then, like, in between those times, they wouldn't generally have food, but they'd have snacks, so you'd have to go in during those times to eat, and then you could go.
So you were eating, like, lutefisk and lefse before? Do you know what that is? Norwegian foods?
No. They had foods from around the world.
Oh, okay.
But I ate a lot of potatoes.
Lots of potatoes.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a Norwegian thing?
So yeah, it's mainly a European thing, I think, because my mom is from Finland, and they eat a lot of potatoes as well.
Your mom's?
My mom's friend is from Sweden.
Oh, okay.
So she said that they eat a lot of potatoes, and I remember one of the days they had mashed potatoes and baked potatoes, and then they had, like, scalloped potatoes, and they had these other potatoes with just, like, cheese on them, and it was...
In one meal?
No, it was, like, they had, like...
Oh, okay.
Those were
Like,
your options.
Those are your options.
Yeah, those are, like, our
Other
options, and they had,
sides.
like, other stuff.
Yeah.
And I was kind of, like, forced to eat the potatoes, because they didn't really have any other vegetarian options.
And you're a vegetarian?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I was, like, eating a lot of potatoes and salad.
It must be hard to be a vegetarian when you go to Brazil. Yeah?
Kinda, yeah. I wasn't, like, I recently became a vegetarian, like, last year.
Okay.
So I wasn't a vegetarian when I was in Brazil, but, yeah.
Because I guess that's like one of those things where in certain countries there's like it's not even a thing to be vegetarian or vegan and all that kind of thing. So I imagine by the way you describe the food in Brazil that
they
all
have
meat-based.
a lot of meat. And there's a lot of Brazilian dishes that I can't eat because they have meat in them.
Uh-huh.
So I try to like make my mom tailor them to like my vegetarian needs.
So how does she tailor it so that it still tastes like what it is?
Oh, she kind of changes it. Like the coxinha, which is like the breaded, like thick, like thing. I don't know what it is with like chicken inside. Like she would put like spinach and like cheese inside and stuff like that. And the pastels instead of the ground beef, I just have the cheese.
Uh-huh.
And yeah.
So how do you think the whole Olympic experience has helped you as a student?
I don't know. I'm better working under pressure now.
Are you?
Yeah, because we had to do that a lot, and in stressful situations, I don't freak out as much. I got to be more tolerant of others because sometimes I get tired, and with the not to be like rude or anything, but the American hockey team were kind of like out there. So you had to like tolerate them because you didn't want them to like be mad at you.
Oh, because they were in the village as well.
Yeah, we were all in the village.
Yeah.
And they were just, I remember when they won gold for their hockey, they would walk around with their medals. And then you would be sitting there, one of the like places in Harkins Hall where they had like a bunch of couches and stuff. And you'd be sitting there and then suddenly they'd come up behind you and like, they'd take their medal and shove it in their face and they're like, did you see it? Did you see it? And you're like, stop.
Not much humble pie.
No. It was mainly the American team.
You must have had the chance to meet a lot of different people from all over the place, right?
Yeah, I did. 'Cause we were in buildings with a whole bunch of teams, and then the Olympic Village that we stayed in, it was only where we slept because we had to go out and like just hang out. So we would meet a bunch of people from like different countries as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I've made a lot of new friends.
Any interesting people you saw, or do you have any stories? Because I guess how many countries were represented? Probably a lot.
I don't know.
Like, did the same countries that go to the Olympics end up at the Youth Olympics as well?
Yeah, they had a whole bunch of countries. They had South Africa, I think it was, but it was only like one girl.
Mm-hmm. In what event was she competing in?
She was I think she was a skier.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess you chatted with her.
Yeah, and what they did in the Olympics to get us to talk to each other so we wouldn't like stay in our groups was we had these joggers. I don't know. They were kind of these USBs with like hands on them, and if you
a USB with a hand on it?
I don't know how to explain it. It was like, and then if you touch because they had like sensors on them, so if you touch the jogger with another person's jogger, it'd light up, and then you'd get other information.
Oh.
And not
That's
like
cool.
all their information, but like there was this thing that they had us sign up for, which is like the Youth Olympic Games.com or whatever, where we have an account.
Oh, that's why it's called a jogger.
Yeah. And then we had an account on the Youth Olympic Games, and then we'd become friends because we touched with the thing, and we also had like pins, like the pins, so then we trade pins as well.
It's so easy to become friends nowadays.
You
You just touch your USBs together,
Yeah.
and then
trade a pin.
Yeah,
No.
like sometimes like people would come up to me, they'd be like, "Hey, want to be friends?" Or like,
let's
"Hey,
touch
let's."
our USBs.
Yeah. They'd be
Then
like,
they
"Hey,
just
let's
part.
yog," and then we're like, "Oh, okay," and then we do it, and
Let's
then we just
yog.
leave.
And then you just
Yeah.
let's jog, and then they just leave.
Yeah, because like you'd be walking, and they'd be like, "Hey, wait."
You forgot
Do
to
you wanna
yog me.
yog?
Didn't jog.
Yeah, sometimes you'd be walking, and you've never ever spoken to this person or seen this person. They're like, "Do you want to yog?" And you're like, "Oh, okay."
But then afterwards, do you go on their website or whatever? And
Yeah, you sign
connect
into
with
your
these people?
account, and then you can like add your friends on like Facebook, and Twitter, and like all these other accounts as well.
Have you kept in touch with some of these people?
Yeah, I've talked to a couple of them. I've talked to some people from the Czech Republic, one of the girls from Norway. I've said happy birthday to like a couple of them on Facebook, and then they said happy birthday back when it was my birthday. So we kind of keep in touch. Yeah.
Well, you said happy birthday.
Yeah,
That's-
they'll like your photos as well if you post something that's curling related.
Uh-huh.
Guaranteed likes.
Yeah, so if you post like something like an action shot of you curling, they'll be like, "Oh," and they'll like it.
Is that what the curling community's like?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're
So-
very supportive of each other.
Oh, that's awesome. Now, Mr. Bennett he loves curling, and so I kind of tried to get him to explain it to me, but unsuccessful. But he wanted me to ask you about the technology involved in curling, because he says it's changed. Like
It
there's
has,
like
yeah.
new types of brooms and all this kind of stuff that I don't even know.
Yeah, there's these. I think the biggest thing that technology-wise I had to deal with curling is that on the rocks on the handle during the Olympics they had a sensor, and there was sensor on like on one of the lines where you would slide out past where you couldn't touch the rock after like you slid past it. So
Okay.
if your hand was still on the rock after you slid out past that line, the lights would like flash red and they would just take off that rock.
Right, because you're guiding it past where you're supposed to.
Yeah. So and then you would to reset it, you'd have to like flip it over, clean it, and then put it back, and then it'd be all reset.
That's like when I try to go over the line when I'm bowling.
Yeah.
Those
and
lights
the
go off.
buzzer. Yeah, I get
Yeah,
that.
like that.
And something about the brooms being like, are the bristles
Yeah, you
more
could
more solid now or
Um,
something like that?
you could get brooms like with the horsehair.
Horsehair. Mhm.
Yeah, with like it would be horsehair or like something different, but we call it like the horsehair brooms. You could get those, but then what we had was ours wasn't like we had one broom that had the bristles, but then we had like all of our brooms had like pads on them.
What kind of pads?
They were like you could I don't know how to explain it. They were
Just
like pads with,
plastic?
like no, they were like kind of like cloth, like
Oh, okay.
nylon. I don't know, but you could like they'd get dirty, so you'd have to switch them off. But they were pads, and they worked. They worked well, but not as well as like the bristles. But we saved that one.
So, with the technique, when you're sweeping, is the idea to sweep to make it smoother so the rock will move faster? And then how do you what do you do to make it change directions and slow down?
You can't change directions when you're sweeping. You can only do that when you're in like that's the throwing person.
The
like
throwing
the
part.
person. Yeah.
Okay.
When you're sweeping, it's to like because the ice has all these little bumps and rocks on them.
There's rocks on the ice?
Not they're like
Oh.
like pebbly ice.
I see.
Yeah, so you'd smooth it out, but it's not to like make it. You could make it faster and travel farther, but it's to keep it in line.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's like you're creating a track.
Yeah, so if it's too, like, if you're aiming towards the middle,
Mm-hmm.
but the person threw it like two outwards, they would leave it, but if they threw it two in, you would like sweep it to keep that line and to keep it as close to middle you can.
And can you sweep it to slow it down too? Or is it no?
You just leave it.
You just leave it.
Yeah.
That's as slow as it's going to get.
Mm-hmm.
I see. And what about when you throw it? What are the techniques involved? Like, do people spin it?
Do like a wrist flick or something?
Oh no, you have when you're to spin the rock, you
You can actually spin it.
No, you don't spin it.
Okay.
You go from like, if you're throwing in turn, you would throw it at like a 2 o'clock angle.
Mm-hmm.
So then as you're sliding out, you're kind of like pushing it like that, like
So
you're pushing it slowly to the 12 o'clock position, and you don't like turn it as fast as you can. When you reach the line, you just like gently let go and it keeps turning.
So actually, when it's coming down, it's turning.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe I should curl one of these days.
Yeah,
I think I should try it out.
You've never tried it either?
I've never tried it either. I know a lot of people that curl, but I've never tried it.
Where do you train?
I train in a whole bunch of places. I'll train at Royal City Curling Club. It's in New Westminster, and the Delta Curling Club, and I'll sometimes go to the Vancouver Curling Club. That's kind of downtown.
Mm-hmm.
For when, like, because we have like this community of Brazilians that are curling now, and they all get together and like curl together and stuff like that. So I'd go down there when they need me.
There's a community of Brazilian curlers?
My mom technically started it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, because she was one of the first to start curling, and then she got her friends into it, and then her friends' got into it, and they started like this whole like Brazilian curling.
Wow.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool. For a country that doesn't usually, you don't think about curling when you think of football or something else, right?
Yeah.
That's neat. So, I think we're getting close to the end of the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of advice would you like to give young people out there who want to get into a sport and somehow make it to a place like Norway?
In the words of like Shia LaBeouf, just do it.
Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah, just do it.
Isn't that Nike?
Well, she's sponsored. She's wearing
the
swoosh right now.
I know, I was gonna say.
I'm thinking about Shia LaBeouf. But,
which could mean that I get some sponsorship money because you're saying it on this podcast right now.
Shout out to Nike. No, just if you want to do it, don't be like one of those like people that are like, oh, but I'm not gonna be that good. Oh, but I don't know anyone that's playing it. Just get into it. And then once you start getting into it, you'll get better and more opportunities will come at you. And you'll be thankful that you just did it.
So talk to Giovanna if you want to learn how to curl.
I guess.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm not the most experienced, but I can like...
You'll point people in the right direction.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, thanks for this. That was lots of fun.
Mm-hmm.
I hope you enjoyed.
Yeah.
Take care.
All right, thank you.
All right.